Okay, I want to clarify it so the audience don't misunderstand, because you mentioned about LSD. So I just want to explain the history about this. That the LSD already been researched since 1925 and give good effect. And then the CIA and FBI knows that people will find the truth and increase the level of consciousness. So in 1950, they give this stuff to teenager, uncontrolled stuff, and then you see the bad effect of that, and after that say it's very dangerous, LSD. Yeah, but actually the founder of it is it is very beneficial for our spirituality, for our emotion. Then there is a guy from Harvard called Professor Dr. Timothy Leary. He introduced about the LSD, because if you use in the right dose, it is better for the human being. And also for ayahuasca, I understand that in ayahuasca you have the DMT, yeah, and DMT actually is a spiritual molecule, and actually the DMT is not something something strange, because our body, our brain produce DMT, right? So when you give ayahuasca to us, actually it is not a foreign stuff, because it's in our brain, including the claustrum. So by you having this a little bit more and with breathing techniques, then you increase your level of consciousness, and ayahuasca accelerates that. What do you think about that, Maestro?
The thing is that we have neuroreceptors, and those neuroreceptors, for instance, we have neuroreceptors for for receiving like the molecule of the LSD, the acid lysergic. We have molecules to receive THC and CBD from tetrahydrocannabinol and all the cannabinol that we have like in cannabis sativa. And those neuroreceptors are the only use of those neuroreceptors is to receive those plants. Same for DMT, same for armalin, same from armin. All those neuroreceptors are captors that can only receive those molecules. And we produce those molecules on a very, very small quantities also, naturally. We, the Professor Strassman, who has written who has written actually the DMT molecule of the spirit. This professor was clinical psychiatrist, really has amazing knowledge what he has been describing about DMT. Explain also that there is only those neuroreceptors are only there to be the receptors of those molecules, and at the same time we are producing them on a small quantity. And he say actually that we produce them when we have like vivid dreams, or at the moment of birth and the moment of death. This is the moment where we produce like quantities of DMT that are present in ayahuasca, for instance. So many different kinds of those molecules interact with us in a way of healing. Talking about LSD, also Stanislas Grof, who was like Professor Stanislas Grof, who was one of the pioneer of the experiment with LSD in the 1950s and 1960s. They were experimenting and then producing, because one thing that we don't know, LSD now is something that we're talking, because it became like a drug amongst the young people that people consume. But in the 1950s and 1960s, it was produced by the laboratory Sandoz. True. Sandoz, which is like one of the biggest laboratories still in the world today, was producing in a form of pills, and it was a medication on prescription for different kinds of psychosis and to treat different kinds of psychosis. And then they conducted those studies for a very, very long time. Like you were saying, in Harvard, Timothy Leary was conducting this long study about LSD, and which with the students of Harvard, and when they that created a huge movement around LSD in the world. And when Hoffman discovered LSD in 1946, from what I remember, 1946, he had this like huge experience with this molecule that he described like at the bicycle day. It's very interesting actually to look at the movie about Professor Hoffman, who actually and revealed that molecule. Only in the between 1972, the propaganda was so strong with the CIA in the US that they decided basically to they saw the huge movement that it was creating in the US, because LSD and psychedelic and the movement and all the liberation movement that had in the US in the 60s that came from all the West Coast just is the birth of ecology, the birth of this new kind of music that we had that started like in the 70s. And so many different kinds of movements: ecology, protections of women rights, feminism, protection of the animals. There is an awareness that the movement of LSD has created a huge awareness in the US at that time, and spread. So we see that when there is an emergence of psychedelic culture, there is at the same time an emergence for freedom. There is something happening very deep in the human being. It's like and this is the phenomena that we have nowadays with psilocybin, and also the approach of psilocybin by many spiritualists. I would say, I will not say religious, spiritualist people all around the world, just working with mushrooms and seeing that the capacity of mushroom is huge. And now, step by step, with the development of the shamanism of ayahuasca. And again, it's not a dogma. It's a ritual by itself that will take you to your spiritual origins and the wisdom that lays behind.